The words ripped through the busy afternoon like a thunderclap. Before anyone understood what was happening, a former Navy sailor threw himself across a frightened little girl, shielding her with nothing but his own body. A black SUV screeched across the curb. Masked men rushed forward, and hundreds of people froze in horror. What happened over the next few minutes would save a child's life, expose a dangerous criminal network, and leave one of the world's most powerful billionaire CEOs speechless. But no one watching that terrifying moment could have imagined that the quiet hero risking everything wasn't a celebrity or a police officer. He was simply a struggling single father trying to buy groceries for his son. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still exists, that ordinary people can become extraordinary heroes, and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner for more heartwarming stories that remind us humanity is still alive. Every morning began before sunrise for Daniel Brooks. At 38, the former Navy rescue specialist had traded military missions for loading delivery trucks at a warehouse outside the city. His alarm rang at 4:30 every morning, giving him just enough time to prepare breakfast for his 10-year-old son Noah before taking him to school and rushing to work. Life had become an endless cycle of responsibility after Daniel lost his wife to a sudden illness 3 years earlier. Grief had hollowed him out, but fatherhood refused to let him stay broken. Noah needed more than tears. He needed stability, encouragement, and someone who would always show up. Money was painfully tight. Daniel's military pension covered only part of their expenses, and every unexpected bill felt like another mountain placed in front of him. Yet despite the exhaustion, he never complained. Every evening he helped Noah with homework, attended school events, and somehow found enough energy to laugh at silly jokes before bedtime. The neighbors knew him as the quiet man who always shoveled elderly driveways during winter without being asked. Most people never realized the discipline and courage hidden beneath his worn jacket. On a warm Saturday afternoon, Daniel and Noah stopped at a busy shopping district to buy school supplies before the new semester. The sidewalks overflowed with families. Musicians filled the air with cheerful melodies, and children chased pigeons through the crowded plaza. It seemed like the safest place imaginable. Across the square walked a little girl holding the hand of her nanny. She wore a bright yellow dress and carried a stuffed rabbit that looked almost as large as she was. A few steps behind them, unnoticed by almost everyone, a dark SUV rolled slowly along the street. Daniel noticed it immediately. Years of military training had taught him to recognize patterns that didn't belong. The vehicle moved too slowly. Its windows were completely blacked out. The driver never looked at traffic. He watched only the child. Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. Within seconds, the SUV jumped the curb. Masked men burst from the doors with terrifying speed. Everything around them dissolved into panic. Without hesitation, Daniel screamed, "Get down!" before diving toward the little girl. His shoulders slammed into the pavement as he wrapped his arms around her, shielding her from the chaos exploding around them. One attacker reached for the child, but Daniel's instincts returned as though they had never left him. Every movement was precise, fast, and controlled. He wasn't fighting with anger. He was fighting with purpose. People scattered in every direction, while Noah stood frozen several yards away, watching his father risk everything. Daniel managed to push the frightened child behind a stone fountain before confronting the attackers. Though outnumbered, he refused to retreat. Years earlier, he had learned that courage wasn't about feeling fearless. It was about refusing to abandon someone who couldn't protect themselves. The struggle lasted less than 2 minutes. Police officers, alerted by frantic emergency calls, arrived just as the kidnappers attempted to escape. One suspect was captured immediately while the others fled, leaving behind evidence that investigators would later use to dismantle a larger criminal organization targeting wealthy families. As silence slowly returned to the plaza, Daniel finally noticed blood running down his forearm. Only then did the adrenaline begin to fade. The little girl clung tightly to her stuffed rabbit, crying quietly as she looked up at the man who had just saved her life. Daniel smiled gently despite the pain. He simply told her everything would be okay. Within minutes, a helicopter landed nearby. Luxury security vehicles surrounded the plaza. Then came a man whose face appeared regularly on magazine covers and business news around the world. Billionaire technology CEO Alexander Pierce rushed through the crowd with panic written across his face. His daughter had nearly been taken from him forever. The moment the little girl ran into her father's arms, even the hardened police officers looked away to hide their emotions. Alexander held his daughter so tightly that it seemed he feared letting go even for a second. Only after ensuring she was safe did he turn toward Daniel. He expected to meet another highly paid security professional. Instead, he found an exhausted warehouse worker wearing faded sneakers, holding a torn grocery bag, and apologizing because some of Noah's school supplies had been damaged during the struggle. Alexander was stunned. Reporters flooded the scene within hours. Headlines celebrated the mysterious hero who had stopped a kidnapping through extraordinary courage. Yet Daniel refused every television interview. He quietly returned home after receiving medical treatment because Noah still needed dinner, homework help, and reassurance after witnessing such a terrifying event. The following Monday, Daniel returned to work as though nothing unusual had happened. He was unloading heavy boxes when someone entered the warehouse. It was Alexander Pierce. The billionaire walked past executives, managers, and security guards until he reached Daniel. Everyone stopped working. Alexander thanked him publicly, but Daniel shrugged with quiet humility. He explained that any decent parent would have done exactly the same thing. Those words stayed with Alexander long after he left. For years, he had measured success through profits, acquisitions, and market value. Yet, standing before a man who possessed almost nothing financially but everything that truly mattered forced him to rethink his understanding of wealth. A week later, Daniel received an invitation to visit Alexander's headquarters. Expecting little more than another thank you, he arrived wearing his only suit. Instead, Alexander introduced him to hundreds of employees during a company gathering. He spoke not about business achievements but about character. He explained that technology could change the world, but integrity saved lives. He then announced something no one expected. Daniel was being offered a leadership position overseeing the company's emergency preparedness and employee safety programs. His military experience, calm judgment, and proven courage made him uniquely qualified. The salary would completely transform his family's future. Daniel struggled to speak. For years he had prayed only for enough to give Noah a stable life. Now hope stood before him in a form he had never imagined. That evening, father and son celebrated with simple hamburgers at their favorite neighborhood diner. Noah looked at his father with pride shining in his eyes. He quietly admitted that seeing his dad protect a stranger had taught him what real heroes looked like. Not superheroes, not famous athletes, not billionaires, just ordinary people choosing someone else's safety over their own comfort. Months later, Daniel helped establish safety initiatives that protected thousands of employees across multiple countries. His experience also inspired scholarship programs for military veterans transitioning into civilian careers and support funds for single parents struggling to rebuild their lives. The little girl, whose life he saved, often sent handwritten birthday cards to Daniel and Noah. Every card ended with the same sentence: "Thank you for giving me more birthdays." No award could ever equal those words. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that courage, kindness, and selflessness still exist in our world, please like this video, share it with your family and friends, leave a comment, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so together we can continue spreading stories that inspire hope instead of fear. Before you go, we have one special request. Comment below with the words "Kindness creates heroes" if you believe one brave act can change countless lives. Sometimes the greatest heroes never wear medals anymore. Sometimes they wear worn-out work boots, carry grocery bags, worry about paying next month's bills, and quietly raise children with love despite life's hardest trials. They don't expect recognition. They don't seek applause. They simply choose compassion when fear tells everyone else to run away. And in those extraordinary moments, they remind the world that true greatness is never measured by money, power, or fame. It is measured by the lives we protect, the hope we restore, and the kindness we leave behind long after the headlines have faded.